What you know about me? I seen it all, heard it all. Oh, what you know about me? I done it all, just want it all. Oh, what you know about me? I seen it all, heard it all. Oh, what you know about me? Oh, what you know about me? Oh, what you know about me?
Hey, y'all, welcome back to another episode of More Than the Title, episode 209. We are working out here, y'all. Y'all know what it is. I'm your host, as usual, Jarrett, Chief Revenue Officer at Outside the Box Digital. We don't got Chadeo today. He's out in the field putting in that work, man. He's supporting one of our, More Than the Title family members. They're in New York. They're putting on an event. We show up. If one is there, we all there. So shout out to Cuzzo, man. You know we love you, miss you. And as usual, I got my co-host, my sister, the queen, the balance. What up, sis?
I already know it is Chad. Jarrett, it's pod day. See, I'm missing Chad already. Like, I'm so used to having him. Like, we have a dynamic. Yo, so I'm glad to be here. It's pod day. In honor of Big Brother Chad, I'm gonna be honored to be able to do Grateful and Thankful G&T.
Yep.
You know who we got to shout out. We had a meeting with them today. Super thankful. Inkwell Beach. Shout out to Adrian. Shout out to Cheyenne. It was great talking with y'all. You know, we're all about getting together, making something great happen. So thank y'all.
Yes.
Jarrett, I say let's get ready. Let's start the show. We got a really, really great guest today.
You know, what we got a phenomenal guest.
Phenomenal. It's supposed to be phenomenal up in here.
That's a fact. But definitely just want to double down, just say thank you to Adrian and Inkwell Beach, the entire team. Like, y'all, we are the personification of hard work and dedication. We do this 2 days a week from the couch in the Bronx, from sisters at in Long Island, where Cuzzo's at in upstate. And we do this shit. We taking our talents from the couch to can, y'all. So this is major. It means a lot to us. I can't wait. Before we introduce this brother, give him the introduction he deserves, shout out to our distribution partners, the Live Podcast Network, the first woman-owned, black-owned podcast network. So if you want more content from creators like More Than the Title, make sure you take out your phone, scan the QR code, download the app, and half of your subscription goes to the content creator of your choice, y'all. So we don't just talk it, we walk it, we support our own. And you know the line, man, what a time to be alive, y'all. You know what I'm saying? And let's get to it.
Let's start the show.
Let's get to it. Let's get his brother the introduction. When they sent me your intro, they was like, "Do you want to interview?" Hell yeah, we want to interview. So for those who may not be familiar with us, first of all, is More Than the Title. You know, we're a podcast that go beyond business cards, job descriptions, all of that stuff. We talk about the journeys, the decisions, and the mindset shifts that lead to real success. So this brother was a former Wall Street professional who made the courageous decision to walk away from the so-called dream job to pursue a life rooted in purpose and ownership. With life support of his wife and brothers, this brother transformed with a leap of faith into a real estate empire, closing over 1,400 transactions and more than $250 million in deals along the way.
Right.
This story is proof of fulfillment, financial freedom. It isn't just in a corner office. It's built through vision, grit, a community. Today, he not only invests in builds, but he also empowers others through coaching, funded solutions, and step-by-step training for aspiring real estate entrepreneurs. So you guys have seen him on Way Up with Angela Yee. You've seen him on Jay Hill podcast. You've seen him on Melody Money. And now he's on your favorite podcast for the very first time. Let's introduce our brother, Mr. Sayam Ibrahim, y'all.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on, man. Thank you. That was an amazing introduction. I appreciate that, brothers.
No, man, that's 1,400 transactions. Woo!
You've been busy.
I'm not mad at that, man. So welcome to the show, brother. It's an honor. And since you want to start off, where you want to go with it?
Yeah, let's just start from the beginning. Like, background, what gave you that hustle drive? Like, I want to know from the beginning. Where'd you get it all from? Family?
Man, look, real estate is what I do, right? But it didn't always happen. I didn't come from a family of real estate investors, right? My mother is from the Dominican Republic and my father is from Ethiopia. And they met in Manhattan, in the Lower East Side, right? The only place where Dominican and Ethiopian don't get together. You know what I mean?
I love New York.
So, they met in New York City. They didn't come with a lot of money. My dad was a yellow cab driver in New York for 21 years. My mother was a hairstylist, babysitter, but they came in with hard work ethic, right? They worked hard, they grinded. They were not going. They wanted the American dream, quote unquote, the American dream, Yep. So they worked really hard, saved a little bit of money, and then moved us out the city to go to high school in Jersey. So I went, spent high school in Jersey, and I remember I'm taking it back to the beginning because I think it kind of plays into the whole situation. Absolutely. But I remember when I was in high school and my friends out there playing basketball, and I'm like, I want to go out and play ball, and they're like, nah, read a chapter in a book first, and then you can go. And at the time, I remember like almost crying, pissed, like, Dad, I hate you, Mom, I hate you. Why are you doing this to me, right? But it all paid off. I understand their vision now, right? Because I ended up graduating from high school. I got a full scholarship to Georgetown University. Right, and Jackie Robinson scholar, right? Yeah, thank you. Shout out to JRF, the Jackie Robinson Foundation, right? And I ended up going to work on Wall Street because that's what I thought was the true path to becoming a millionaire, to becoming financially free, right? Getting a great job, and on paper, I was successful because I was making six figures, right? Yeah. My life was miserable. I was working 80, sometimes 100 hours a week, and had no time to spend it. And it all came down to this one pivotal moment where I gave my boss a few months heads up notice that I was going to get married. I'm actually married to my high school sweetheart. I've been with my girl since high school. Yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks. So, shout out to my pops for moving to Jersey. Otherwise, I would have never met her, right? I told him, look, I want to get married and take 2 weeks off. He said, yeah, no problem. When it came time to it, he said, hey, you think you can reschedule your wedding? We're really busy right now. And I had family come from DR, family coming from Ethiopia, family come from DC, from all, Dallas, from all over the country, all over the world for that matter. And I was like, you know what? I took a step back. I was like, no, right? And that's when exactly. And I was like, that's when I quit Wall Street cold turkey, not knowing what I was going to do. I mean, my family practically disowned me. I remember my dad telling me I ruined every chance of becoming a millionaire. All the hard work, he said, I'm throwing out the window. Right. I didn't know what I was going to do. So I started flipping some cars with my brothers, started, trying to, figure out what I want to do next. And my brother found the house in Newark, New Jersey. Right. And it was a beat up house. All right. Surrounded by pretty homes. We didn't have any formula, no system. And he's like, yo, we need to buy this. This is a deal. I'm like, all right, I'll support you in this. No problem. Right. It's my, but so we went, we got $2,000 here. He got a title loan on his car. Right. We figured it out, got the money, went all in on this deal. We bought it, renovated it, and we made $60,000 on the flip.
Ooh,
Exactly. And we fell in love with the business ever since then, right? And so fast forwarded, we've done now, over 1,400 real estate deals. Like you said, over $250 million in real estate. We built a rental portfolio of over 600 doors. We even got a hotel in DR now because I always wanted to invest in the roots. Ethiopia coming soon. We definitely going to invest in Africa soon. Take it back to the motherland. But, and that's been our nutshell. So real estate investing is how we pay our bills, is what we do, how we live our lifestyle. My true passion is in mentoring, coaching, and inflicting change in people. So, a couple years back, we started, mentoring people only after doing over 1,000 deals, showing people how they can get in the game and do exactly like we do, just by mimicking what we do, and they'll see the same kind of results.
That's real. You said something, the coaching and the impact. So I'm curious, bro. Let's take it back because we're gonna dive deep into the business, bro. But like, who was that person for you outside of your parents that inflicted that change within you? Who was that one person that was like, this is the blueprint, and I'm gonna go Wall Street because this isn't that route. I could go right, I could go left, but I gotta go there because this is what it is. Like, who was that?
Yeah, man. Obviously it's kind of cliche, but obviously my dad was a big influence, right? Because I saw the struggle he had, and they eventually saved some money, and started up his first business in Jersey. And so I saw the entrepreneurship in him. So that's one avenue of it. But another avenue is really, just being the Jackie Robinson Foundation. So when you get to join organizations like that, you surround yourself by other people that are driven, that are motivated, and I got a lot of influence from other people. I mean, there was one kid from Macon, Georgia in the program that he flipped his first house in college. And I was like, what? Right? I wasn't even thinking about buying houses in college, right? I was of course I was studying, but I was looking to have a good time, right? So so just be surrounding myself with those kind of people. So it kind of, one of the most important things that's, I think, affected my change is who you surround yourself with impacts your success, right? And being around that network of people that are just driven, motivated, and you just all about doing good things, give me a big leap of faith to kind of go out on my own. They supported me in my drive.
That's fine. I gotta give you part two to that question. Now, what's one piece of game that mama love or pops gave you that always stuck with you, bro?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the biggest things is probably, if you want, and this is not even my mom and pops, this is my wife, right? So I'll give her some props. So, it didn't always do well for real estate, right? My first deal was good. My second deal wasn't actually, right? I took a huge loss, a huge L on my second deal. And I kind of got into a little depression because like, oh man, she's pregnant with my first baby, right? I'm supposed to be bringing money to the household. I just quit my job. So I got insurance and she's pregnant, right? And I took a huge L. And so she came to me, she was like, look, if you want to do something, if you really truly believe this is what you want to do, because I wanted to try it again, I think you should find someone and follow their footsteps. Right, as opposed to trying to make your own steps and trip along the way. And
shout out to your wife.
real game. And that's exactly what I did. I found someone that had been doing this for years, kind of just lashed onto them, hung around them, listened to everything they're doing, just got in the room, right, and saw the conversations, and it skyrocketed. You know my story now, over 1,400 deals over the past couple of years, over the past decade. So.
I love that shit.
Yeah. Well, you talked about your real estate. I want to know, like, what was that the most hardest challenge, or was there something more challenging? Like, what would you say is what was one of the most hardest challenges being in the real estate business?
Yeah, look, a couple years back, I was already growing my real estate business. We were getting big, and I almost had my feet wiped out from under me. Right, so it's not always gravy in business, right? So we were building a rental portfolio, and managing the rental portfolio is a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie, it's work, right? And I said, you know what? Why don't I go and hire a management company and give them all my rentals so they can focus on that, since this is what they do. They're supposed to be the expert, and I can just focus on growth. But the opposite happened, right? So I gave them my rental portfolio. And the second I gave it to him at 96% occupied, meaning almost every house was occupied. I got it back 10 months later at under 50%. Delinquency was through the roof. They didn't do maintenance calls. Tenants couldn't reach them. And literally my entire business crumbled in the span of 10 months because, when you have all those mortgages you got to pay, and I was making a lot of cash flow every month with all these rentals, and that went from being cash flow positive to being cash flow negative real fast, right? It's really easy for everything to kind of crumble. When it rains, it pours, what they say, right? I gave them my rental portfolio. They never paid me for 10 months. Right. I tried to fire them. They kept, going to the contract, had to take them to court. I eventually won in court, still didn't get paid to this day for the judgment I got. Right. It was just a real bad scenario. And what I did to get out of it is I started selling property to get equity back so I can, catch up on bills, repair the homes to put tenants back into them. That's why I'm a big believer in just going out there and buying real estate, because things that I bought 3-4 years before that were now worth double. Right. Sometimes more than double. So I was able to pull that equity to kind of restructure and get back on my feet. But man, these people almost knocked me out. My learning lesson from that is I should have just given them a few houses and say, hey, let's see how you do. Let me give you more as you prove yourself. But they were big, and big doesn't always mean great, right? So I just gave them.
We literally just talked about that.
Yeah, it was a huge problem.
But shit, before we even go, because that was an ill lesson right there, right? So I want to get into you're successful on Wall Street. You end up taking a leap of faith. You said F that, right? Because obviously they don't care about me, right? If something happens to me, they're gonna put somebody else in my road. This isn't my passion. So cool, I'm out of here, right? You started the real estate, you and bro flipped it, made the 60 packs, but then talk about, like you said, when wifey gave you the advice, like, to keep going if you want to do this. Like, what were some of the hard times? Because I think that's very pivotal for us to talk about as Black entrepreneurs. People just see the success. They never see, I was eating ramen for 3 weeks and da-da-da. Some days we had steak. Some days we had nothing. Like, they need to hear that, bro. So I would love to know that process. Like, when you took that loss, if you don't mind walking us through that and what that.
Absolutely, man. Look, so I told you I made $60,000 in my first flip, right? So that was the best $60,000 I ever made, right? It was the biggest check I ever got in my life at that time. I lost $75,000 in my second house. Right. So everything I made on the first house, I lost it and some. And the reason why is because I trusted in somebody else. So the realtor sold me a house and said he could sell it for $250. In the end, I sold it for $200. He told me that the rehab was $30K. Remember, I didn't know real estate. I was just diving in, figuring this out. He told me the rehab was $30K, ended up being $80,000. right? And then, yeah, I thought I was gonna be in and out in 6 months. This thing took me over a year. So the holding costs and everything, it just compounded and took a huge L. And everything I made in the first day I lost. And it was an absolute rough time for me because I told you, I went to like a depression. I had no money, didn't know how to pay for my kid's birth. That was only a couple months away. There was a lot of different things that happened. And when you say ramen, right? Ramen was a luxury at that time. It was a rough period of time, man. And so like I said, I had a great rock to lean on, and she was supportive. I know a lot of women, when things get tough, they sometimes they might not stick around, right? That's when you know you got a good one. And she definitely was. She was the support. She was my support, my rock, and she pushed me forward. And it came up on top. And the way we came out on top is I learned something called wholesale in real estate. If you ever heard that term, so. I didn't need a lot of money to do that. And so when I went and learned from somebody, he was wholesaling real estate contracts. So he was locking contracts up and flipping them for $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 to an investor, and then never really having to do the rehab. So, he taught me how to do that. And I did that for the next year and a half, and got back on my feet and put some money in my pocket and got my credit right and got financially stable to go back to start rehabbing and things like that. So it was just learning the skill really and latching on to somebody that was doing what I want to do that made the difference. And of course, having a rock to lean on.
But we got to break down that wholesale. I've never heard of that term, right? So you're buying the properties, right? And you put up the initial investment, then you're getting investors to basically put in. I'm like,
easier than that. So this is we actually have a community where we teach this stuff. I told you we teach people this stuff and we talk about things like this. So I'll make sure to drop the link for all your listeners so they can join the community, right? So wholesaling, you focus on getting a good deal. You get a house for $100,000. Let's just say it ain't in New York City for $100,000, but maybe it's in Syracuse, right? Get a house for $100,000, but it's worth $200,000 after a little bit of renovation. Anybody and their mom was going to want to pay you $10,000 to take that deal from you, right? Because they got $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in potential profit. So they're happy to pay you $10K to walk in a scenario they're making $40,000. So you don't ever have to really close on the deal when you wholesaling. You just lock in the great deal and you flip the contract. You literally say, here, Sayam, take this contract from me and pay me $10K for this contract, right? And the buyer closes with the seller and you just get paid and go on to the next one. It's a great.
They never told us this.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a great way to do real estate. And we did a lot of these in the beginning of our business to stack with cash. They talk about you need a lot of money to do real estate. It's all capped. There's a lot of ways you can do real estate without a lot of money. And this is one of them, right? So you can get your money, right, to start doing developments, to start doing rehabs, to start buying rentals right down the line.
Yeah, that's great because that's what I would think, right? Because I'm gonna keep it real. We tried to do the real estate thing before we started this joint. We was like, yo, we're gonna get a house, flip it out of the same place in Newark. We found he's in Newark, bro.
Yeah.
But I felt like we had to have 50 to 100 in stash, just in case cost. Like you said, the construction, the rehab, all that goes overpriced. We was gonna hire a couple of workers, find them by Home Depot, stuff like that. We already know a couple of guys that gonna give us top market value for it. But I'm thinking we need 100. But you're saying I could just buy the joint to have somebody buying with me because we know the contract value once we do rehab is going to be this. So you're selling the actual, like it's kind of like selling the equity, but you're not selling the equity in it. You're selling the play in it.
You literally flipping contracts is what you're doing, right? So I have the contract. I never actually buy it. You said the word buy, and that's the wrong word because I never actually buy it. When you wholesale it, you don't actually buy it. All I do is let's just say, Jarrett, you're the seller of the house, right? Uh-huh. And you want 100K. I put a contract with you to buy your house for 100K. All right. Now, Nadege, she's an investor and she's looking for rental property. And she's like, you know what? At 110,000, this deal makes sense. So Nadege is going to pay me $10,000 to step into my shoes and take over that contract with you. And now she closes with you and I made $10,000 when she buys it. So I get
damn. I hope my listeners are taking notes.
Yeah, I'm dropping game, man. I charge a lot of money for this stuff, so I'm dropping game to the audience right here.
You show me. I'm gonna hit you with the wolf. You show me one pay stub, I work for you. You show me one of those pay stubs, I work for you. Now you part of more than a title.
Yeah, man. Yo, this is a far way. It's to address your comment from before. This is just one of a lot of strategies you can get into real estate and not really need a lot of money. You could buy rental properties right now, and all you need is the closing costs. All you need is the closing costs. right? So yeah. You just need someone to show you the strategies, right? Get on the right team, and you can kill it and do it. I mean, one of my mentees, his name is Michael Sean, right? He's from DC, and he bought 12 rental properties his first year working with us, and 2 flips, right? And put $0 out of pocket to buy all those rental properties.
0 out of pocket.
0 out of pocket. Lawrence Joseph, right, from Phoenix, he bought 4 flips, $0 out of pocket to buy 4 flips.
Damn! Yeah, send us your education link right now.
We've been going up so long, audience. Y'all hear this shit?
Yeah. I think Lauren's got a flip selling, I think May 28th or something like that, right before the end of the month, because my birthday's in the month. Only reason why I know, right? He wants to celebrate, and I think he's gonna make like $25,000, put $0 out of pocket. You just gotta get the strategies, brother.
You ain't gotta give. I don't want you to give us all, because I want them to click the link and go
Yeah.
through it, right? But how do I go to a person that's willing to sell their home and get the contract so I could be able to be the wholesaler, to be the middle person between them and the buyer? How does that work?
Yeah, look, so there's a few different things you're gonna do. You want to listen to that seller, find out what they really want, because a lot of times the seller's not really looking to get top dollar. They got a situation they need to resolve, right? So you want to target sellers that have a situation that need to get fixed. And if you fix that situation, you solve their problem, and you end up getting into a great deal, right? You just sign a regular purchase and sale agreement, and if that seller is motivated, if that seller needs to resolve the situation, I mean, you it's a win-win scenario where you get a great deal, they get their problem solved, and everybody's happy, and you get to the closing table. So I like to target sellers that have a situation, right? And there's 3 situations. I'll give them to your audiences that we like to target for the past 15 years. One of them is people that are behind on their property taxes. Right. So if someone owns real estate, you got to pay property taxes. If you don't pay the property taxes, the house goes to auction. Right. So I don't go and bid at the auction because there's mad competition at the auction. Right. Yeah. There's mad people bidding there. What I'll do is take the list of properties going to auction next month and reach out to those sellers on Facebook and send them a DM and say, hey, I noticed your property's going to auction, man. I got a solution for you that'll pay off those taxes, and you can walk away with some money in your pocket for your next situation in life. Right? If you DM 100, 200 sellers, you're going to get some responses because they got a definite timeline and they got a motivation. Right now, a regular. Yeah, man.
Now this is third period. He going crazy. My bro going crazy.
Yeah. I'll give you another one. This one, I think this one has worked really well, and nobody's doing this, right? Okay. So everybody got the ugly houses in their neighborhood, right? That you're like, man, the grass is 4 foot tall. They got a hole in the roof, whatever it is, right? And you're like, man, I wish I could find that owner and make a deal with that person. I know I can make a great deal. And you try to call them, you put a door hanger, you try to text them, cold call them, whatever it is. If they don't respond to you, I'm gonna tell you the best way to get a seller to call you. You guys want to know?
Yeah, please.
Go to Home Depot, buy a for sale sign, and put your number on the sign and put it on their front yard.
That's game.
On their front lawn.
Yeah, I guarantee you, they're gonna call you. They may not be happy at first, maybe some beeps in the beginning of that call. You just got to talk them off a ledge, right? And then once you got them on the phone, you work your magic and strike a conversation and make a deal. But it's like a sure-proof way to get that seller to call you.
That is, as a salesperson, I love that. That's brilliant. Imagine somebody putting a for sale in front of your crib. You gonna call that? Who the hell is you?
Exactly. That's how the call goes every single time.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
Yeah, I want to talk more about like your mentorship, because you said like that's something that's a passion of yours. Like, what sparked that passion in you to get into mentorship?
Yeah, so I told you I went and got like a mentor when I stumbled on that deal, my second deal. I got a mentor, and that changed my life. A couple years into that program, they asked me to come and be a speaker for them and teach new people because I was getting some success out of it. So I started teaching people through their program and just fell in love with it, right? I love seeing someone that I taught, and then 6 months later, I see that, oh, wow, you did a deal already? You did 2 deals? You did 3 deals? Oh, man. And you're like, yeah, I did that, right? Like, you did that, but I helped you with that, right? So It's just really fulfilling for me when I see people's lives change through real estate or through anything, right? When I can inflict change for the better on people. So it just I always had this saying that when I make it to the top, I want to open the elevator, bring it back down, and bring as many people up with me, right? Message. And this is exactly that. So we've had a lot of success in real estate. So the elevator doors are open. I'm trying to show as many people, particularly our people, right, that aren't really normally in the game, right, to get these strategies, learn these systems, surround themselves around like-minded people that are driven, that want to see results and have have financial freedom, have generational wealth, and real estate, in my opinion, is the best way to do that, right? It's the only real asset out there, right? I mean, even cash is not real, right? We all know that, right? People talk about crypto and stock market. Yeah, okay, those are great. People make a lot of money with it, but it's too volatile. 1 minute you're on top, next second you're crying. Real estate's actually real. So I believe it's the only way, in 2025 and beyond, to build wealth, to build freedom predictably and safely. And I'm just trying to get that message out there.
This motherfucker don't miss.
No, he's fucking.
You say
good.
that?
He's
You don't. And like that immediately brings something. My great grandmother, she literally said something to us. She was like, "Listen, the one thing God did not make me more of was land."
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yo, there's literally wars over land right now in this world, right? Yep. So if we have the opportunity to grab a piece, why not, right? Pass something on to our kids, to our grandkids, that's only going to go up in value because they're not making any more of it. You hit the nail right in the head.
That is crazy. So I'm pretty sure some people might be listening, bro. They're gonna be like, look, like you identified your mentor. What are some red flags, some green flags that you identify when you're looking to get a mentor, bro? Because there's so many people. You got Caesar from Jersey who was listening and all that. That shit happens. So how do you know the right person?
Yeah, I'm on. I was on the podcast with Angela and Stacy right on the way up, and that's all that for weeks after that. People were DMing me and talking about Caesar. So I know, right? I know. Yeah. If you are thinking about getting a mentor, especially in real estate, right? I don't know much about crypto. Like I said, I don't know much about there's a lot of strategies out there that people are using to make money, right? If you're looking to follow a mentor that's actually in real estate, ask them to show you their HUDs, right? A HUD is like a closing statement. Every time you buy, refinance, sell a property, ask them to show you the HUDs. Verify they're actually doing deals and doing the business. I can almost guarantee you that more than half of those gurus, those fake gurus out there ain't really doing the business, right? They learned this online, read a book, and they saw that they can make a lot of money. So they start teaching it online, right? But when stuff happens, which it does in real estate, I told you a couple examples of mine, they don't understand how to resolve those situations. You only know how to deal with issues because you've been through those issues, right? So you need to verify, ask them for the HUDs, verify they're actually in the business, right? And if they are in the business, they got 10, 20, 30, 50, 100, 200 deals in their belt, you're in a good spot, right?
So success comes with receipts every time.
Right. That's right.
Comes with receipts. That's one of the illest lines I've heard on this show. They was like, yo, if successful people always, first of all, they'll be proud to show you the receipts.
Yeah.
The ones that are shaky to show you the receipts, then you run. That's right. I agree, man. I agree with that 100%. Look, I mean, when I was doing 20 deals, 30 deals, 50 deals, I was still learning, right? When I was doing my 100th deal, I was still learning. I didn't feel comfortable to go out there and show people how to do this until I did 500, 600, 700 deals under my belt. I'm like, all right, I think I've seen a lot, right? I can answer people's questions. I can speak from an actual practitioner's point of view of how to do this business, not just from theory. Right? When you teach it from theory, it's all fluff, right? So let's give you a quick little. Oh yeah, you going off, bro? I ain't gonna lie. It's only 30 minutes. What you doing?
We're not even 30 minutes in yet. I'm just like
28-16 in this mug.
That's right.
Yo,
that's
it's
right.
mad questions like matter of fact, since you had one, I think I just lost.
Okay, I'll go next. So we talked about mentorship. We talked about like trying to educate our people on real estate. What do you feel is like a common misconception that that we have?
I got a whole lot of those, man. I told you I've mentored a lot of people over the years, and like the biggest misconception, which actually Jarrett hit the nail on the head before. The biggest misconception: you need a lot of money to do real estate investing. That's all cap. There's lenders out there. There are investors out there that will give you the money to do deals if you find a great deal. You can flip contracts like we talked about to get in the game and get started. Just get it there and get started, right? There's something called hard money. I don't know if you ever heard that term before, but there's something called hard money. These are people that lend money to real estate investors to buy and renovate properties. And guess what? They will fund the majority of the deal. right? So if you got a house that you buying for 100K, hard money is going to fund $90,000 of that purchase price. If you got a house that you're renovating for $30,000, they're going to give you all $30,000 of that rehab. So if you buying and you sell and you renovating a house for 130 grand, all you need out of pocket is 10,000 plus closing costs to get that deal done, right? And if you got that 10,000, great. But if you don't, you can use what's called private money, right? Private money, right? Which is a whole nother game. We can talk about that for hours by itself to go and fill that gap. So you can literally step into deals, which is what Lawrence Joseph did, my mentee, and he raised private money, right? In addition to hard money to get deals done. So the biggest misconception is that you need a lot of money to do real estate. And I'm gonna tell you that's cap, right? That's number one. That's kind of tied to other things. The other biggest misconception is you need perfect credit to do real estate. I'm gonna tell you again, that's cap, right? I hear so many people tell me I'm waiting for my credit to get right so I could buy my first property. And I'm like, you're doing it backwards. You need to buy your first property and use the profit from that property to get your credit right.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yes. I've never had a private money lender asking for my credit report. Never had a private money lender asking for my credit report. And most hard money lenders, if you have a great deal, don't care about your credit report. They don't care about your tax returns. They don't care about your bank statements. What they care about is that you have a really good deal. And if you have a good deal, it overrides all of that if you have blemishes on any of those things I just talked about. So the second one is you need perfect credit as the biggest misconception, right? And the third one that I hear a lot is time. I ain't got the time to invest in real estate. I ain't got the time to manage contractors. I don't got the time to find deals. When I'm flipping contracts and wholesaling, it's very little time. It's a little bit of marketing, a little bit of negotiation. I flip it to the seller, literally 30 minutes to an hour a day working on a business. You can make $10, $15, $25,000 a month doing this business very easily, even more, right? 30 minutes to an hour a day. That's one less Netflix show a day, guys.
Talk about it. Talk about it, man.
Turn the TV off, build your business, build your freedom, get your family's finances right.
Crazy. I'm curious to know, bro. What was your most complex deal? Like, what was the most complex deal that you experienced? What was the lessons you gained from that, bro? Because I would love to.
So let's see, the most complex deal. Actually, I just finished a deal actually in Miami, right? I bought a 72-unit apartment building in Miami, Florida. And we raised money. We did what's called a syndication. We put money together to get the deal done, right? And the reason why it was so complex is because it was a historical building, right? And so everything on the exterior, I had to bring it back to when the building was built in 1926. I had to hire an engineer to scrape the paint off the building to find the original paint color that was there 100 years ago, right? And go to Sherwin-Williams to match that paint color. I mean, that it was a lot of things that I didn't expect that number one affected the budget, but also affected the time frame on the deal, right? But it was just a juicy deal. So, if you buy right, if you buy with a lot of margin, you buy deep, you don't do skinny deals, right? You can overcome any complexity in the deal because it can all be solved with time and resources. But, buying right is the key to doing any real estate investment. And because we bought that right, we were able to, withstand some of those complexities dealing with historical property.
Yo, bro, you're a beast. You're a beast. You go ahead, since you got one. I had a follow up from that.
No, go ahead with the follow up because it might end up being similar to the question I have.
No, I was going to ask you, like, what has been one of the best purchases you've made with the success, and what's one of the worst purchases?
I got answer to both of those questions. For the best, one of my best deals I did was a 16 unit building in Miami, Florida, in Little Havana. If y'all ever been there, right? So we bought a 16 unit for $2 million, and I funded it 100% using OPM, other people's money. We went and got a bank loan. I got a private lender, the same stuff I just told you about right now, right? So we bought it for $2 million. We spent $650K renovating it, right? And then we sold it for $4 million and made $1 million in one deal, right? That was probably my most, I would say, the most exciting deal I ever did, the most profitable deal in a short period of time that we ever did. Now, here's the kicker, right? Once you start learning real estate, you start learning ways to save on taxes, right? Real estate is one of the best vehicles to shield on taxes. I made $1 million in that deal, but only had to pay $18,000 in taxes on $1 million in profit because we used something called depreciation, right, to offset the gain. So only a 1.8% tax rate on that $1 million gain. I mean, that's I'll guarantee that all y'all paying more than 1.8%, right? But it's because it's real estate. It's the best asset class out there, and the best way to build freedom for your families, y'all.
Yeah, that's great. My fault, Instagram. We got mad people like, yeah. My bad, Instagram. I'm in the conversation. My fault. You can comment. Make sure you go to YouTube, Instagram. You got to go to YouTube to comment. We'll put it on the show. We'll make sure Sayam sees it, and we're gonna keep flowing in the show. But don't go over there because I won't be able to see it.
Wow. Okay. So let's talk to the young people, the newbies, people who are interested. Like, what's a good way to get started into real estate, get into investment? What would you recommend?
Oh, OPM. Yeah, you know me.
OPM. Yo, literally, I was raised private money in some of the most bizarre places, right? Now, actually, y'all from New York, so I'm gonna tell you this story. This is in the beginning of my business. So my dad lives in Newark. He's never gonna leave Jersey, right? I try to get him to come down to Fort Lauderdale with me. He's like, nah, I can't leave Jersey. My friend, my family, blah, 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 whatever it is, right? He's gonna be in Jersey for the rest of his time. So I go up and visit him a couple times a year. And whenever I go to the city just to see what's going on. There's always changes, see new restaurants come in. And I was on the subway, and there was a lady sitting next to me with a ring on her finger the size of a baby's head, right? And so I was like, I'm gonna talk to this lady, right? So I tap her on the shoulder. I'm like, excuse me, miss, I'm gonna be in the train. What's your name? What do you do? And she looked at me like I was crazy because you all know on the subway, nobody talked to nobody, right?
Right.
Your earbuds on, you got your book, whatever it is, they all to themselves. But the reason I asked that question is because I know the next question back to me is, what is your name? What do you do? It's almost inevitable, right? And I want to tell people what I do because you find private money by just sparking conversations with random people, right? You never know the value this person can provide to your business, right? And so, she said her name was Jerry, and she was an attorney. And, she proceeded to talk about, being a lawyer for the next 20 minutes on the train. I actually ended up missing my stop because I didn't want to end the conversation, right? And I said, what do you do tomorrow? I'd love to buy you coffee and tell you more about what I do because I work with investors to do what I do. And she said, yeah, sure, no problem. So the next day, I'd sit down with her, I'd talk to her, and I'm telling all y'all young people out there that you can find the money to do real estate if you start conversations. It could be your professor, it could be your neighbor, your cousin, a coworker at your job, your boss, your mother, your grandmother, anyone that's looking to make more money than what they're making today. Could be your next private money lender. Now, if you need $20,000, $30,000 to do a deal, it could be one person with $25,000, $30,000. Or it can be 5-6 people with $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. You put it together and you'll all win and make money on that deal, right? But to the story. I was looking for $50K at the time because I was going to use hard money, which I told you all about, to fund the deal in Plantation, Florida, right, which is in Broward County. And so I was buying a house for $385. We're going to put $100K in renovation, and it was going to sell for over $600,000, like mid sixes. And so she said, let me think about it. I'll get back to you. So a couple of days passed, I give her a call and I'm like, you ready? And she's like, yeah, let's do it. But I don't want to do I don't want to do a deal where I just want to get 10, 12% interest. I want to be your partner on the deal. How about I fund 100% of the deal? I'm going to give you $485,000. All right. And I want 50% of the profit. Would you do that deal, Jarrett? Would you do that deal? Yeah. I would do that deal all day, every day, twice on Sunday, right? Exactly. So we did that deal, and in 5 months, we bought, renovated, and sold that house in 5 months. She made $50,000 on her $485,000. I made $50,000 on her $485,000. And what do you think when I paid her back was the first thing that she said?
How do we do it again?
Exactly. How do we do it again? When's the next one? Because she just made over 10% of her money in 5 months. Right. So, the reason I bring up that story, and we did tons of deals together over the next couple of years, right? The reason I bring up that story is just to show all you young people out there, if you think you need a lot of money to do real estate, no, you don't. Somebody needs to put the money, but it doesn't need to be you, right? And if you start sparking these conversations and focus on finding a great deal, the money will follow. And that's just how money works in real estate, y'all. Yeah.
You got me ready. I'm ready to join right now.
Let's go. We got a spot for you, brother.
On that same vein, I want to talk about using social media. Like, how do you use social media to leverage interest and gain, popularity and gain an audience about investing?
Yeah, so I'm probably not the right person to ask that question for. I'll be honest, right? So I started doing some podcasts to build my brand. I spent 15 years in the business, really in the business, not so much building my social media up, right? And only recently started building my social media up because I realized that in today's day and age, if you ain't on social media, people don't take you serious, right?
If they don't see it, they don't believe it.
If they don't see it, they don't believe it. So, I'm still learning in that area, and I'm sure I can take a lot of advice from you guys. I'll take the work and the help. Maybe we do some quid pro quo where I show y'all some strategies. Y'all show me the social media game, right? But I'm just now building it. I recently opened up a YouTube page. I started my own podcast, right? And I'm just now putting a lot of work into Instagram and TikTok. They're baby accounts, but they're gonna be big soon, right? They're baby accounts, but they're gonna be big soon. So I'll definitely share the links so everybody can follow. I drop gems on social media every single day.
So let me give you some context, bro. So for everybody listening, this is our first time. This is our first conversation with Sayam, right? So listeners, y'all probably heard this story. So the birth of More Than a Title, right? How we started this. I was working at SEO agency, bro. I'm a salesperson like you. I could tell the sales oozes out. I could just tell, bro. You're a salesperson. The way you ask questions, the way you look at it, the way the angle, I could tell you're a salesperson. I could tell you're a Wall Street. You have to be a shark.
Yeah.
So you have to be, right? So I was in marketing, advertising. I'm like, yo, look, they telling me to go after Uber, Lyft, and Nike. We have zero brand visibility. I'm like, how are we generating money? I go to the CEO. He's like, yeah, I'm doing webinars and podcasts and shit. I said, boom. You know what's not going to work? These cold ass emails we sending, these cold calls that we doing, right? How do we turn this cold call or this cold email into a warm email? A slightly lukewarm temperature one, right? So I went on LinkedIn. I had 200 followers, but I didn't know shit about the algorithm. I didn't know anything, right? What I started being was myself. So I started looking at the content that was on LinkedIn. That's when LinkedIn was just trash. Nobody knew what to do. It was just webinars and shit, right? But what I identified, it was nobody that looked like me that was on LinkedIn every single day. There was nobody with a hat and a hoodie. There was nobody that knew the shit I knew in marketing. And if I look at it, it's 720 million people on LinkedIn, but only 2% of people post a day, right? So how many people there's going to be posting per day that's going to have a hat and a hoodie on from the Bronx in the couch doing what I do is going to be 0.000.1. So I've got an opportunity to have a free billboard on the world's biggest business highway. And I went there, did that shit, bro, every single day. I post 3 times a day. I was posting my story. I posted up a medium rare steak at a steakhouse. The CEO of Stars liked the post. I'm like, how the hell? The CEO, I asked him for a role in Power. I'm dead serious. I asked him for a role in Power. Like, it was getting crazy. I'm a top voice, bro. But long story short, we ended up closing $2 million in deals, right? And when the pandemic happened, I was like, all right, now I got this LinkedIn notoriety. How do we monetize it even further, right? Because everybody's in the house and shit like that. So I'm like, yo, let me just get people on the show. Let me get decision makers on a show, but let's not talk business. How's the kids, bro? How's the family? You got your mask on, everybody good, like mama loving them good, boom, boom. We just talk life. And then with the, and I was thinking, if you like me enough, you'll throw me a bomb. We end up closing $2 million worth of deals, all inbound. Just from that, bro. So we built it up to like a 20,000 followers. Then once I saw that, I'm like, okay, I can do that for your brand. We started our own agency, OTB Digital, brought Cuzzo, brought Nadege on, and here we are today with More Than a Title, and we about to go to Cannes, bro. So when it comes to that, we do that. So I built my brand before understanding the monetization aspect on the outside. Right. So now, now we're getting to that point where we're monetizing per platform, but we have to understand what's the funnel look like? How do you draw them? What is your hooks? What is all that going to be? And to the point we fucking mastered that. You know what I'm saying? We're still not at the point where we want to be, but the relationships are everything. You can make a call. I'm pretty sure your Rolodex is extensive and people don't understand the value of that Rolodex. Yes. You remember back in the days of sales, what they used to ask you on the meetings, Sayam, who do you know?
Yeah,
what
who can we call?
Look like?
Exactly. Who can we call right now? Look, man, your net worth is your network, right?
There it goes.
It doesn't matter if you don't have the money, if you don't have solution stuff, you just need people you can go to that are experts in that space. And look, you become automatically an expert in that space. You can utilize their efforts. So yeah, man, your network your Rolodex is key.
Yeah, but how did you? Because you went on certain platforms, like you went on Angela E. How did you measure the success of those apperances? Some of them you got to pay for. I'm not saying you did or didn't.
Yeah, of course.
Shans and them, it's a money game, right? It's a pay to play type thing. Everybody got to eat. How did you,
Yeah. So I looked at how the influx of people that I would get. So I would give like a link. I would give a text number so I can see the influx of people that would come through and see how much they were generating. How strong of a listener base is their audience, right? To see if it was worth if the squeeze is worth, if the juice is worth the squeeze, right? That's what I was doing, right? But more often than not, I just wanted to build. I'm still working this, but I'm trying to build a brand, build a name, right? We know our stuff. Hopefully, I got that across. I know my stuff. There's very few people out there that can converse and transact in real estate like we do. But I'm not the expert in social media. I'll be the first to understand where I'm the expert, and I'm now learning that. So hopefully, throughout the span of this year, we'll get good at it. I'm online. I'm online on YouTube. I'm taking classes. I'm learning this stuff. So I'm listening to what other people that are doing well on it are doing. I'm tuning into y'all and listening some of your strategies, because the story you just gave me was phenomenal. I know where I'm an expert at, and I know where I'm not. And this is not the space, so I'm a baby in the social media game.
But I think you're making it more complex, bro. As your brother, right?
Okay.
Simplify it. The shit you just told us is the shit you need to show everybody else. Because at the end of the day, what is your main purpose and passion? From what I heard, is making sure people that look like us are able to have these opportunities to create generational wealth. That's what I got out of it, right?
For sure.
So if what they want to see in it, you got to show them the hard work, but then you also have to show some flaws. You got to say, yo, look, I did this. Y'all brought that. This joint right here, this historical building. Do you know it's black owned? Did you know it's black owned? I don't know if you knew, but this is black owned, right? Do you want to know how this became a black owned business? Click the motherfucking link. I'll give it to you right now. So shit like that, it's being your authentic self just in areas, but it's training and conditioning your mind to say, look, everything is content. Yeah. Everything is content, bro. The way you prepare, the way you think, your downtime, all of that shit is content. It's just hard to put a camera in your face all the fucking time. But if you get yourself and condition yourself to say, look, everything I do, regardless of what it is, right? Because your story alone, from what you've done and being $250 million in sales, bro, you could be selling that shit to Netflix. Yeah. You could be selling that shit to Home and Garden, HGTV, Better Homes and Gardens, all that. You could be the go-to. There's no reason. We actually had who's the dude from Netflix? Owning Manhattan.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I know you're talking about.
Yes, I can't think of. Sorry, I forgot his name. But we had Jordan March. That's my brother. I worked with him. He's my first sales gig. We went down to the office, met the entire team. Sirhan.
Yeah. Sirhan. Yeah, Ryan Sirhan.
Ryan Sirhan went to the Sirhan office, bro. Did a podcast live stream from inside their office.
That's cool.
Got the whole shit, bro. So it's like, yo, you can do it. There's not too many that look like us. So you're competing in a space against the Ryan Sirhans of the world, right? So what gets them is the wealth, it's the look, it's the Lamborghinis, the Ferraris. My brother, I used to sell deals when he pulled up in a Lambo on me. I'm like, God damn. And I told him, like, how you getting into that? You should stay in this advertising shit. I felt stupid. But I love it though, you know what I'm saying? It's motivating. So bro, just think about, how do we want to see success? You know how we want to see success. You know how our youngins want to see it. Yeah, they ain't gonna believe you at first, but just show them, continuously show them. Yeah, for sure. And it's gonna come through. It's gonna trickle, bro. It's gonna trickle. Man. That's great. That's great tips, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, man. You got me excited. I'm ready to post. I'm ready to. We go to Miami all the time, man. So if I come through, you got rental. You do Airbnb and all that.
So actually, that's one thing I don't do is Airbnb, right? I actually talk against Airbnb, right? Because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, number one, and it's not stable. Right? I love putting a tenant that's paying me long term because I know that money's coming in every single month. Airbnb, I've seen there's a lot of markets that are doing legislation against it. I see a lot of people where 1 month you're making money, next month you're losing money, right? So it's just not a model that I've done a lot of. There's people making money, and I'm sure it just hasn't been my model.
No, that makes sense. But if you got like a rental property, if you got 90% of the units, you only got 10% of units. Then where it's not really affecting the cash flow.
For sure. Like our hotel, I told you, got a hotel in the yard. We Airbnb that hotel. I think if you're in a place, if you're in a place that is that's like full of like tourism, like Miami probably do really well in Airbnb. That's in DR in Puerto Plata. If you know where that's on the North Coast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's where the hotel is. Does really well in Airbnb. New York City probably going to do really well in Airbnb. I got a lot of my portfolio in Ohio. I don't think that's the best market for Airbnb, right? So it just depends on where you're investing.
Why Ohio?
Oh man, the yields, the returns are phenomenal, man. Right. So what you could buy a house for versus what you can rent it for, it's just sick. In Miami, people are striving to get a 4 or 5% return on a rental, 6% return on a rental, right? After all the costs, because the prices are high. In Ohio, I could buy a house for $80,000 that'll rent for $1,500. Right. So we're talking about making 13, 12, 13, 14% a year on the property. Right. I can't do that. And I can't do that in New York City. I can't do that in Miami. So you don't have to live where you invest as long as you implement strategies and systems.
Message.
Yeah.
You're a bad man. You're a very bad man.
Wow. That's the only word I got right now is wow. Okay, I had a question. I got it. Because you talked about like so much stuff, like a lot is going on. I want to pivot into like balancing all that. Like, how do you balance the work, the family, mental health, friends? What is I think it'd be a great I know you're about to drop some real gems for the young people, for the old people, for everybody.
I love to travel. Traveling is one of my favorite things to do, right? So every so often, I just take the families, go on a trip, turn the phone off, and it's all about them, right? Because you got to give the family the time too. I also have 2 daughters. I got 11 and a 13-year-old daughter. They're both in middle school, and so once a month we do this thing called Daddy Princess, right? So we're part of this group where once a month we just go camping. Right. And it's a bunch of dads and daughters, only dads and daughters. We go camping and we go places where there's no signal. So I got to be 100% on them. Right. And that's like the quality time because, life is quick. Life is short. And, before they know it, they're going to be 25 years old. Right. And living their own life. So I want to enjoy every bit of their time that I can.
And we just got a comment on Instagram. Papa Fichet said, I can't wait to join the membership. Sayam, you're so knowledgeable. I admire you so much. I've been watching YouTube for some months now. Nothing but love.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You already know. Papa Fichet, you already know. Make sure you subscribe, you like. It's brothers like this. It's people like Sayam out here, man. But we act like they aren't out here. That's why I want you to get the social media. I wish you would have came through the feed. You can have me when we was trying to get that Newark property, bro. But like what you're doing is first we could tell the passion you have in it. It's not just about the money. For sure. The money's cool, right? That's one of the engines that obviously it's a perk.
Yeah.
But I could tell when you mentioned your mentor, your mentees, right? Seeing them be successful, seeing them all that, like what is, I don't like to ask the mountaintop because Udi kind of changed me. I was like, yo, what's your mountaintop? He said, I don't ever want to see it. But what does that look like for you, bro? What will make you feel satisfied and fulfilled to be like, I'm going to venture off to another vertical, another industry, whatever? Yeah.
So I think one of the most fulfilling things for me is when I see my mentees become coaches, right? And I'm like, wow, that went full circle. So when I start seeing my mentees, having their own circle of people that are following them and learning and they're passing the knowledge on. When I see my kids buy their first property, their second property, their third property, I do some with my daughters, right? Every Sunday, we call it the Real Estate Roundtable. I don't know if you've seen it on my Instagram, but we just, I ask them questions about real estate and I'm teaching them about real estate. And every question they get right, I give them $100. And so they're studying, they're listening. Right. And so at the end of the day, last year we did it and I gave them a trip to Jamaica as a trip because they got 100% on the Real Estate Roundtable. So I was like, you know what, we're going to Jamaica. My wife's Jamaican. Right. So like we're going to go to Jamaica. We're going to bring grandma, right? Bring my wife's mother and we can have a ball and have a great time. So, things like this, when I start seeing, all my hard work, when I see people that I've trained and showed them how to do it from scratch, start becoming the teacher, then I'm like, I'm good. All right. I did my thing. I did what I was supposed to do. Let me go enjoy myself.
When do you start building your daughters and your family's portfolio?
Oh man, that's already in the process.
Yeah, I already know. That's like, when does that happen? Like, do you have them involved in the tie from soup to nuts? Do you have them involved in everything?
Yes. My kids hate looking at houses. They hate looking at property. Every time I say, "Oh, we're gonna go see a house," like, "Oh no, Dad, not another one," right? But they listen and they actually are learning. So we went on a walk the other day. And so we're walking by this house and my daughter's like, "Oh, Dad, that house has to be worth, XYZ because it got a pool and it's on a corner and there's a lake behind it." I'm like, This is when did you start analyzing houses like that, right? But it was a proud moment. But yeah, no, I showed them everything from how to analyze properties, what we look at, what we look for, what's good, what's bad, what we want to buy. Well, you know, if a house is on a busy street, what to do and what not to do, right? So they are starting from probably from they were like 5-6 years old. They've been absorbing this information, so it's going to be second nature to them by the time they're of age.
That's crazy. Like you just nailed it, right? But I'm curious now because now you got the wheels turning, and I'm thinking the same shit. Like, what is a home run play? What is something that we should be looking for, even if we're just brokering a play? What is the home run play? Like, it's a cul-de-sac, it's got a lake, it's got this. What are some of the boxes we want to check off to know this is a good deal?
Yeah, look, I love properties on a quiet street. So cul-de-sacs are always going to be fire, right? When you have it, when it's back into like something desirable, like a lake, always a plus. Makes it easy to sell. It usually sells for a premium, right? But really, what it is, I love buying properties that are in the median income areas, right? I'm not trying to buy the most expensive property. I also want to buy the cheapest property. I like to be right in the median income areas because the vast majority of people can afford it, right? And when you want to sell it, it goes like that. Right, because you have a bigger buyer pool. So you know, and when I'm teaching my mentees, one of the biggest things I teach them, I'll give game to all your audience right now, is you only want properties that work for multiple exit strategies. If you want to do a $2 million house, you want to build it, sell it, whatever, right? You only can make money by selling it because it never covers itself as a rental. If you buy the cheapest house in the block, it's going to be in a rough neighborhood. It's going to be hard to sell it. But when you in that family neighborhood, it's that median price point. A lot of people can afford it. The working class can afford it. It'll sell. It'll also be a great rental. So if for some reason the market's not doing well, or you got to pivot and you got to hold it, guess what? You can still cash flow every month. I'm perfectly fine making $500 a month on a house, right? If I keep it as a rental or pop it and making $25,000 if it's a flip. So if it works for both, I'm gonna say yes on that deal all day, every day, twice on Sunday. And that's what I tell my mentees.
That's real. So we got another comment from Shay. She said, I'm 23. I inherited my grandmother's property with over $500K in equity. And right now I'm in process of applying for HELOC, right?
HELOC, yeah.
Most definitely be connecting you, Sayam, for guidance.
For sure.
So like just off of that, like, you know, she didn't give it a lot of context, right? So she's 23, property over 500K in equities, in the process of applying for HELOC. What are some next best things that she should be thinking of?
Yeah, first of all, she needs to run a HELOC on it so she doesn't have to pay taxes, right, when she sells it. If you refinance, you don't pay taxes on the money you pull out. You only pay taxes when you sell it. So she refinances it and she pulls out 300 or 350 in equity. That's 350 to play with, right? That she can go and buy a house, flip it, buy rental properties, whatever it is. But what I would tell her to do is to do the flip to freedom method, which is something we concocted a couple years back. So yeah, for every 3 properties, she got 350 to play with, 350. She could do a lot of real estate with that, right? By using it for down payments and getting financing and so on and so forth. So I would flip 2 properties, keep one as a rental. Flip 2, keep one as a rental. Flip 2, keep one as a rental. The flips are going to stack her money. That 350 is going to become 700 over the span of a year or 2, right? And the rental is her future money. So she's taking care of her future money to know that she don't have to rely on Social Security to retire. She's going to rely on her rentals, right? And that's exactly what we do.
And Estelle, I hope I'm saying your name. So what places like Newark that are not the best but are developing, it's good to invest there?
Great question. Great question. First of all, Newark is a great place to invest. I've done a lot of deals, made a lot of money in Newark. I even bought my dad, my brothers bought my dad a triplex in Newark when he wanted to retire. So he lives in one and rents the other 2, and it costs him $0 to live in. And that property has tripled in value over the last 10 years, right? Tripled, not doubled, but tripled in value. So I love investing in places like Newark. I love investing in places that are going through a lot of renovations, right? A lot of appreciation. When you have an area that has a lot of old homes that was traditionally a rough town, people, when you start seeing renovations going through, houses getting renovated, buildings getting renovated, it means a lot of money is getting poured into that area. So all you gotta do is you want to buy and hold in those areas, and you'll see those properties start to appreciate. And I'll give you a story. My first property I ever bought was in the Heights in Jersey City, right? When me and my wife got married, we bought our first place. It was a duplex in the Heights in Jersey City. I sold that place in 2012 for $327,000, right? I was checking on it last year, but last year is worth $1.5 million right now, right? $1.5 million. It appreciated because of all the renovations going on in the area. in the past it was rough. It's not so rough anymore, right? It's you've got a lot of money that was invested in and turn these old properties over to make them livable. So you want to find the areas that other people are pouring money in, just buy and hold in those areas, and you'll start seeing wealth being created just by owning the real estate in those areas.
That's
And
good. You
Newark
know,
is a great example of that.
we think of Newark, we think of New Jersey Drive and all.
Of course, we think of Pleasant in the old Newark, right? But it's changing, man. It's changing. I mean, I see, you know, these young millennials walking dogs at 7:00 in the morning now. It's not the same. It's not the same Newark that you know we grew up with.
What do you think about Baltimore? We just left there. Everything is for sale out there. What do you think about that as an investment?
So I don't know too much about Baltimore. I did buy a house before in Baltimore, but you know, Baltimore is good, but you want to buy cheap, right? So you could actually buy properties from the city in Baltimore, and many cities do this, where you can buy properties for really cheap, because you know if you buy cheap and you own it and you just hold it over time, I think it's going to appreciate. I think any place in the country, right, if you just buy and hold, you'll see that real estate's going to go up in value over time, whether it's Baltimore or whatever it is. But I would just be selective of the areas. There's some areas that are on an incline and some areas that are on a decline. So pick the neighborhoods in Baltimore that are either stable or on an incline. I think you'll be fine. But my you know, real estate prices, just for your audience, over the last 100 years, every 10 years on average, real estate prices tend to double, right? So if you're thinking about getting into real estate and you're waiting for prices to drop, I'm going to tell you why wait. Now is always the best time to buy real estate. The best time is actually yesterday, but you can't go back in time, right? So you might as well get started now. And just by owning and holding real estate, you'll see that your wealth will appreciate over time. Yes, in the short term, prices drop and you have these little, you know, fluctuations. But if you hold it long term, you'll see in almost every market, real estate tends to go up over time because number one, it's an inflation fighter, and number two, right, they're not making more of it. So it's a scarce resource.
That's real, bro. I got a lot of questions, but I don't want to go too hard body. I feel like you're gonna invoice me. It deserves it. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
You got one, sis?
No, go ahead.
So, all right, so I do want to know what was one of the craziest moments that just happened? It doesn't got to be like just in real estate specifically. We usually ask this, right? And I don't know if you had it already, but what's your mama I made it moment? What was the one moment that you look back and said, I'm here, baby. From the ramen, I'm here. What was that moment for you where you look back and had to actually enjoy the moment?
Yeah, actually, I think I just mentioned it. Actually, is when my dad told me he wanted to retire, and my brothers and I were like, well, how can we do this, right? Where he doesn't just eat through all of his savings over the next 10, 20, 30 years. And then my dad ended up having a daughter, right, in his later years. So now he has that resource that he needs to take care of, right? So we have a little sister many years later. So what we did is we set him up with a 3-unit building in Newark, New Jersey. We bought it for $350, right? And he lives in 1 unit, and the rents from the other 2 units cover the 100% of the mortgage, right? And he even makes money on a monthly basis. Then the property next door came available, 2 houses over, another 3-unit, and we structured a way to buy that with little money out of pocket, right? And locked in, and he makes like almost $4,000 a month on that 3-unit building. So we set up my dad's retirement where he didn't have to ever actually come out of pocket, and his bills are covered on a monthly basis. And I remember after setting that up, me and my brother were in a room. I was like, you know what? We know our shit. We actually set this up pretty nicely, right? And we gave back to the people that have been, you know, that got us to this point, that struggled, that worked hard. And I was like, we did it. We did.
Oh, I fucking love it, man. I love that. I know Pops is like, yeah. I told your ass get that book. I told your ass, right?
That's right.
So I want to look to the future, like 10 years from now, looking back, like what are some things you want your legacy to be known for?
Yeah, for sure. Look, I have a goal of helping our community. When I say our community, I mean people like us, buy $100 million in real estate, right? So whether that happens in this year, whether it happens in the next 5 years, I'm going to do it, right? Because I want to shorten that wealth gap, right? That's number one. The second thing is I'm transitioning out of some of my houses, right, to invest in more hospitality and multifamily projects. I want to invest in hotels in places I want to go. I just told you I love to travel, right? So I love going to Puerto Rico. All right, I'm looking now, actively looking now for a hotel in Puerto Rico, right? I love going to DR. We have something in Puerto Plata. We're thinking about getting something maybe in Santo Domingo, right? And so I want to invest in more hotels in areas that I like to travel. So number one, of course, you make money off it, but number two, I get to actually enjoy it for free, and I can bring the whole family, send my family, my cousins, my aunts. They all come, hey, can we go to the hotel? Yeah, no problem. Enjoy yourself, right? It's on me. And so that's our vision. So 10 years from now, we have hotels scattered all over the world and all the places we like to travel to. We've got, we've achieved our goal of having our community built, buy $100 million in real estate and more in 10 years, right? And I think I'm enjoying life, man, living my best life.
I love it, man. And I still to ask another question. You said, can first-time buyers buy multi-unit properties, and what's the process like?
Yes, Estelle. So there's something called the FHA program, I think is what you're referring to. So the FHA is a program that allows you to buy a property with 3.5% down. You can buy up to a 4-unit property with the FHA program with the low down payment money. So once you get to 5, it now becomes a commercial property, and FHA doesn't finance commercial properties. So up to a 4-unit. So you can buy it, live in 1 unit, house hack, right? Live in 1 unit, rent out the other 3. And as long as you live in that unit for a year and a day, you fulfilled your obligations, you can go rent that unit and go buy another property the next year, right? And you can start building your portfolio using these low dollar out of pocket financing strategies.
But it's only for the first time. That's your first time home buy. It's got to be the first time. So if you already have a home and use the FHA, you're not going to be able to use it for your multi-unit. So the best strategy that I've heard, I hope you agree with me, Sayam, is buying your first property using an FHA loan for the multi-unit. So you could do exactly what you said.
Correct. House hack. Don't let the renters cover your mortgage. Start stacking up some cash so you can use that money to buy your next property the following year.
Rental income also counts towards your income also, right?
Correct. So if you got 3 units that are rented, or if you got a 3-unit you buy and you got 2 units that are rented, you can count that when you're getting qualified for the mortgage.
I know, man. That's my brother who just commented. I know he's like, yeah. I try to get the property in Newark with him. I love you, Hayes. You know that.
Next time, just hit me up, y'all. We'll walk you through the process, man. Maybe we do it together. Who knows?
We're gonna get it, bro. But I'm gonna add on that, right? But you're also doing business with family, right? It's very difficult doing business with family. Just tell us what that's like, man. Because I ain't gonna lie, Nadege just got me, just started being a part of our business maybe about 5-6 months ago. Me and Cuz will argue every other week. You know what I'm saying? You'll meet him soon. So, tell us about the dynamic of working with the family and all that disagreements, moving forward. How do you find common ground to be successful?
Yeah, look, there's always going to be arguments when you're working with family. I argue with my brothers all the time, right? So I got my brothers. I got my 2 brothers in the business. I have one of our best friends, Jonah, that's in the business. We have my cousin in the business. So my wife is in the business now, right? So we really are a family business. Now we have a lot of people that are family working for us as well. But I guess at the top, it's mostly family, and it can be difficult. But everyone has identified roles. Right, everyone has their lane to stay in. My one brother's in charge of acquisitions, so anything acquisitions, that's his wheelhouse. I'm not going to step in his toes. That I know that he's the expert in that. Right. Another brother is in charge of construction and renovations. My cousin is in charge of sales. Jonah, who's our best friend for years, he's in charge of property management. So everyone's got their own specialty, and that's how I think we've been able to avoid more fights. Because everyone stays in their lane.
I'm sitting there firing. I'm getting so many comments on Instagram. I'm like, yes, there will be replays. It's actually live right now on YouTube, y'all. If you go to YouTube, I can comments on the show. Instagram doesn't have an integration with StreamYard. So I see your comments on Instagram, but you're not going to be on the show like how the other comments were. So go to YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, any of the other platforms. There you go. You know what I mean? But I love this. I think this was a great conversation, bro. I don't even want to take because I'm ready to have conversations off camera. I ain't gonna hold you. We're gonna set up some plays, but what I do want to say to you, and we offer this to all of our, and I'm honored to offer this to you, brother. You're part of the More Than Entitled family now. So what that entails, brother, anybody we've spoken to before or after your appearance, you have direct access to. So what we do is me, Nadege, and Cuzzo, we set up a group chat after every conversation, bro. If anybody you've seen, we have a group chat with, right? And you know why we have that group chat is to make sure we can identify opportunities and make sure we all eat. We don't do the gatekeeping shit, right? So like we're not like a lot of other platforms. That's why we don't charge, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because we're gonna help sure that you get on the back end, right? So we're gonna introduce you. We've had, like I said, we've had Beyonce's there. We have Matthew Knowles on. We've had Doyle Mitchell, who's the CEO of the largest black-owned bank in the U.S. We've got all these type of like, and so what I'm asking you, brother, and I'm asking you, please let's connect offline. Put your number in there where it says 3 people. It's just us. We'll start the group chat. And let's just connect some dots, bro, because it's all about winning here, right? Because one thing to have the conversation, and it's another thing to sit there and connect the dots, build the relationship, and show them additional success on top of our individual success. And that's what I would love to see, bro. So any way we can help you, we're going championship. Please make sure we got the links and all that. We don't want to dime, all that. We don't want no referral money. Just eat, bro.
Man, I really appreciate it, man. That's a beautiful thing, man. I just sent you the numbers. I'll reply to your email, right, where you send me the link for this, and put all the links in there so you can, we can share the wealth and share the knowledge with your community. And look, man, it's been a pleasure being on here. I actually had a lot of fun, right? And I look forward to hopefully connecting the relationship, and let's do some real estate together and help me. You help me with the social media stuff like we talked about. I got you with the real estate stuff, and let's just run it up.
And both wash the face. Estelle, she's engaged. We gotta get a last question. She got a last question. She said, my last question, because I'm gonna get all the answers I need. Rock with you. You know what I'm saying? That's why I rock with you. What is your suggestion for starting the investment group? What is the amount you think is a good investment to start?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Estelda. So what you're talking about is doing what's called a syndication. That's the perfect example of a syndication. So a syndication is if you want to do a project, you want to do projects, you get a group of investors together, and really it's up to you what the minimum is. I see a lot of minimums out there at 25,000. I see a lot of minimums out there at 5,000. It just depends on who you want to bring in. Right. Because, there's something called crowdfunding where people can put $5,000, $1,000, $2,000 to get involved. But then you're managing a lot of people at that point in time. Right. So and personalities can sometimes, be overwhelming. And so, what I like to do is I like to focus on some larger deals like the multifamily stuff and the hotels. And for those, I put the minimum investment at $25,000. Right. And we'll put the money together in a syndication. Everybody eats, everyone co-owns the property, everyone's getting the cash flow, everyone's getting the appreciation together, right? And we all run it up and we make money as a group, right? But you can make that investment smaller depending on what kind of top properties you're going to target. If you're targeting single family homes, you maybe don't need $25,000 minimum. Maybe you can do $5,000 minimum, and you put up $50,000 together, $100,000 together. Now you got the money for the down payments and to manage the rehabs of these properties. So it really depends on the asset you want to target. But I think you're thinking in the right mindset. Let's work together to achieve our goals. Let's do deals together in a group, right? Because I believe that if you want to go fast, go alone, right? But if you want to go far, let's go together. Exactly. And you're thinking the right way.
Come on. But it's no different from what these billionaires and millionaires do when they're investing in bigger properties, and the properties being the sports teams. It's the same thing, the investment group. We actually had Paxton Baker on. He's the chairman of the Nationals, bro. He broke down how they actually bought the Nationals, right? They bought it for maybe $600 million. Mm-hmm. So imagine what those conversations are. Who's going to buy in for this? Who's going to have this equity? Price you have this. You settle it in, you make the contract. And now when it is sold, it's going to be sold for $7 billion. It's it's the same concept, y'all. So once again, we together, we make this thing happen, yo. So he's bro's talking that talk, man. I can't wait to continue the conversation. Shout out to Instagram, shout out to everybody. I just want to say, bro, just keep doing your thing, man. Keep doing your thing, man. If nobody tells you, man, we proud of you. We learned a lot, and I know what, right? Like real talk, we know betting on you. I've never seen her pull out the notebook. I've never seen her pull out the notebook. Open your car. I didn't know you was on air like.
No, I love it, man.
That's why I love you, sis.
Yeah. I'm passionate over this, man. So if I can help just one other person, right, get in the game and change their life, I mean, it's fulfilling for me. So look, I look forward to working with y'all. And let's do it, man. Let's run it up.
Let's run it up, man. And sis, you want anything to close, man? You want anything to close?
Nah. Another phenomenal episode, as Chadeo would say. Can't thank you enough. So I'm ending off here.
Now, let's do it here. Let's hit him with the how cousin would do it, right? So this brother Sayam took his time out, right? He told you what it was like growing up. He told you about the power of hard work and ethics, seeing the message in the movement from his parents, right? Seeing how hard they work, wanting to change the environment. You've seen all of that, right? He went into Wall Street. He thought that was going to be what it is, right? But guess what? His heart told him this isn't for me, right? He stood on business. He pivoted. He went through the hard times. He went through the good times. He went through it all to get to the point he is today. And you're never going to know what it's like until you jump off the ledge. And that's what I'm getting, y'all. You have to learn it. Find somebody who knows the information, get with that person, and then run up your business. But you have to make the commitment. You have to make the investment. What is our tagline, y'all? Is invest in your bet on yourself. And that's what this brother did. And now he's a real estate mogul. And you're going to see him from years to come, him and his family. And it's a Black-owned business, y'all. This is what we champion every week. So it reaffirms everything that we say every week. The dream is free, y'all. But y'all know the hustle is so separate. Put in the title, man. So yeah, this is a classic, baby.
Yo,
let's go, y'all. Let's go. Let's do it.
Let's do it, y'all. We see y'all next week. Let's get it.
What you know about me?